couple more tips here when you're putting back your turbo is if you have some padding to crawl upon, and when you're going back to put your clamp on there, the only way to really get to it is basically laying on top of the motor here. If you put a hand up here, once you put your knees here up on the dash, or sorry, on the hood front, and put your hand here, and then kind of put your side of your elbow or your body on the turbo, or sorry, on the alternator, and you can kind of get your head back there. You actually got to get your head pretty much right back here where my light is to be able to see, so it's a bit tight. Coating of anti-seize is highly advisable on the clamps. They get really hot. This one back here was quite seized on. I don't know if you can see it there. It was quite seized on, so a little coating of anti-seize will go a long way. And when you put your turbo on, it's heavy, but try to be gentle. You'll know if you put it on correctly once it's sitting there, and you'll know if your O-rings are dislodged or anything, is if where it joins to the pedestal, if there's any sort of gap there, it's a pretty good bet that your O-rings have hopped up and it's lifting it up. So just the weight of the turbo, even before you torque it, should be tight. And you might be able to even see farther back, but at least at the front where you can see. Get it on, center it at your back, where your two flanges meet at the Y pipe connector there. There should be about an 1/8 inch to a 16th inch gap. There's a locating pin, and if there's any more than that gap before you start tightening it down, it's probably not positioned correctly. So try to put your head back there and make sure that your gap is starting to close before you clamp it, because that way, all it takes is just being a little bit off, and you might even, you could still clamp it down, but if it's not quite lined up, you'll probably have an exhaust leak. So do yourself a favor, and before you get anything else put back together, before you torque it down, pop your head back there, make sure it's closed. It might just take a little bit of jostling, and I should say before you do that, once you get it pretty close, just drop in your 2 bolts, get them finger tight, and that'll allow you a little bit of play so you can adjust it. Once you're pretty confident that's good, your O-rings are good, etc., go ahead and start by tightening your back clamp to about 60 inch-pounds. Depending on where you look, the specs will be anywhere from 50 to 100, which is a big range. I did 100, seems okay, but that's on the high side, I think. Might be good to do a little bit less than that just to be safe. And once that's on, go ahead and mount your downpipe and put that clamp on. Same thing with the torque spec. Once that's all good, just do another visual check to make sure you might have popped up a teeny bit because of tightening these 2 pipes down. But if it's pretty close here with your mating surface there, not too much of a gap, and certainly if there wasn't a gap before, you should be good to go ahead and torque that down. So those are a couple tips just to make sure that it seats really well. It's awkward and hard to get it back, but these are some things that I figured out. It took me a long time to actually figure out how to easily get back there, because I don't like the idea of like breaking something while I'm trying to fix something. So trying to get your body back there where you're not like pushing on a hose and cracking wires and whatever is ideal. So I found that's the best. If you can get a hand up there, use this as a bit of a support to be able to get back there. And it's not that bad. Once you actually get back there, you can get both hands. You can get your left hand up over top of the turbo, get your right hand in there, have the clamp. Like I said, have the clamp already on the collector in the right orientation, so that way when the turbo goes on, you can kind of get a situation. You can just slip the clamp over both of them. This one's easy, no sweat there. And the other tool that helped a lot, especially for taking it off, is if you have a extension for a driver that's flexible. This is just a flexible, I don't know, about a 12-inch extension or so. That really helps a lot. Speeds up the process a lot. You have about 2 inches of thread to cover to get your nut down before it starts to tighten. And so doing that by hand, speeds it up a little bit. And also when you have an impact on it, you can kind of watch as it tightens down to see if everything's coming together and seating properly. It's pretty self-explanatory when you start to tighten it down. You can see if it's not. But just go slow, a little at a time. But like I said, the big takeaway here is to make sure your pipe at the back is lined up correctly and that locating pin has sit. If it's not sitting where the two flanges meet, you'll have a gap. So if you can ensure that your gap's starting to close before you tighten it down, you should be good to go. And get those two pipes on, then torque down your anchor bolts, and that should be about it. The rest of it is pretty much just put back together the way it came. But those are a few pointers I thought somebody might find helpful. So, all right, thanks for watching.